years ago, and we'd hired this island, and there was about 30 of us, and we were hours away from the coast. We all got dropped off there, and we had a brilliant time of deep inquiry in ourselves for 2.5 weeks. And I was out there with Dana Lyons. Do you remember Cows with Guns? Do you remember that song, anyone? Wow, no, okay. Anyway, that was also 20 years ago. And Dana, for me, he's a songwriter, and he's in North America going to all of the forestry actions, and he's really singing about what's happening as a folk singer and documenting, different actions about dams and the salmon runs and what we're doing on the planet. And I said, Dana, I really want to make a difference. And I remember being in this beautiful, pristine place and just us having this conversation, and he shared with me, you can be running around trying to do a lot of different things, but if there's someone in your life that you really admire, and it could be someone that could be quite untouchable in some respect, but go for trying to side up next to that person or other people that you really admire. Side up next to them. Just really go there and listen and just support in whatever way you can. And for me, that was Bob Brown at the time, who for me was a brilliant leader within the Australian Parliament and the Senate. And I really enjoyed how he spoke to the people. And he would always come around and say, we want to think about our Earth. Don't be calling it the Earth. Calling it our Earth. And the way that he spoke and related, it inspired me so much, and is still such a foundation of the way I communicate with people. It's how I'm communicating with you now, is inspired by this man. And then from there, I met a lot of women like Vandana Shiva over the time, who I couldn't even, when I was in proximity, couldn't even go and talk to her. But just by working with her organization in India, Navdanya, then it could instill in me the kind of connectivity and being in proximity, and what really inspired me in my life. And in the last 20 years, I've really been trying to sideline up against everyone I could. And so that's now been the foundation of my permaculture teachings and my practices, because I've been in and amongst this. So it's like really being in proximity of people that we really are inspired by. And then we become the generation of collectives that are moving forward in this way. And so I just really wanted to share that, taking that time and being of service, not just volunteering, like changing that mindset into being of service to extend and make more powerful that person's organization. But then as forest systems happen, the old growth tree always has to come down. And if you've been in proximity to that old growth tree for such a long time, when that falls, the light comes, and then it's your time to shine.
Thank you, Annalise. That was a beautiful sharing. And would any of you else like to share on that one? Anyone?
Yeah, I'll share the practical version. That's such a beautiful story. But as far as volunteering goes, there's lots of different organisations that you can jump onto. And as Shay was saying, Reef Restoration started. Basically, it was a group of people that were passionate about doing something. They got together, formed a foundation. Can I get a show of hands from anyone in the group that's part of a community group? Currently part of a community group. Okay. That includes like an association, like a sporting association or a co-op or anything like that. Well, these are organisations that exist, and they're for cause. They're called non-profits often. It doesn't mean that you can't make money doing it. It just means that the emphasis and the intention is to create change and offer time and energy towards something. There's also organisations that can connect you with different organisations, like Volunteering North Queensland and CAFNEC as well. And there is also contacts for woofing. If you're interested on getting onto land and having that experience, woofing is an acronym for Willing Workers on Organic Farms, and it's typically quite a robust structure that's formed around people traveling and then being able to exchange their work, their energy for room and board, basically food and a place to sleep. And the less formal version of that is basically approaching someone with land and saying, hey, can I come and help on the land? And you might get some food at the end of it. So yeah, it's as simple as literally approaching someone and saying, hey, I want to put energy towards that thing. How do I go about it? But there are also organisations that you can get involved with as well that are always looking for it. There's quite a few that were shown here, like Land Care, for instance. You can go and volunteer and plant trees, and Parlay, go and pick up rubbish. Tungaroa Blue is another one, but many, of course, like that. If you're so interested.
Yeah, I think what comes to mind around the volunteering or effort to help the community grow, and one of the things was community gardens, and there's many community gardens in Cairns. There's some really good ones, a bungalow, and one at Wari. What is it? Yeah, there's a few there anyway. So that, I think that they're good places to just get involved in learning from other people, to be able to then get into gardening and volunteer and help out, in that regard. Yeah, I think that's a good one. Yeah.
Cool. We also, thank you, Blakey. We also run workshops and courses in practical permaculture as well, and we love volunteers. You can come along for free if you love to help us in the way. But everyone covered, really great answers there. Yep, there's some at the beaches. A great way to find out is to go onto the Cairns Regional Council, any regional council's website, and they have them all listed. Yeah, there's more popping up every day, and you can start your own one on your verge.
Yeah, and on that, starting your own one, basically we shouldn't really have to ask to start a community garden. Let's be honest. Enough people in this room to start a committee that was pushing for being able to grow food in your street. Let's be realistic. The only reason we're not growing food everywhere is because they're making money off it. And we are the people that continue to support that system. So the more that we can stand up for our rights as humans to plant trees in the earth, the better we're going to have the yield, which is obviously going to feed more people, and it's going to connect more people with the land where we live. So yeah, thinking outside the box as well. Create your own organisation. What inspires you?
Create your own documentary.
Yeah. Well, I was sitting up the back there, and I did that. I wrote down the next documentary that I want to make, and all the different things that I want to talk about and discover and learn about. And basically it's going to start in Darwin, because I've been invited up there previously to connect with the elders, because there's fracking going on in Darwin, and the basin there, as you all well and truly know, that water source under the continent is connected to basically a lot of the water in Australia. So I've come up with a list. It got pretty expansive, so I'm going to need some help.
There you go, volunteers.
Yeah, that's it. And I think outsourcing is definitely on the cards, because Shay and I made this film, off our backs basically, and put a lot of hard energy and effort in, and pulled each other through some pretty intense times, to create this product. But we both know when we're watching it, we feel excited about what we can do. What we did was off our backs, and working jobs, and what could we do if we had a clear vision and the support from our community, and more people invested, more organizations, more brands, and take it that next level up from what it has been and what it's done to what's possible, as is mentioned in the film. Jay says it, what's possible. Sovereign says it. No? So yeah, I'd like to, pose any questions in the audience if you guys have anything on your mind about the film or about life in general. Yeah.
As a young family, we have two kids together. One's 16 and one 9 years old. So I think you're doing amazing with you guys. So how we can do to put this information, if they can listen to mom and dad, to put this information in these kids right now? Maybe schools talking.
I think that the key is to, I think that the key is TikTok. And you got to say it in 3 seconds, or maybe 5 if you're lucky.
They are the regeneration.
They are. They know more. Yeah. We did it at that age, so no, they're very into the. Well, my daughter's, my son.
Teach him to grow his own. I'm actually developing. I've developed an online permaculture program, which sounds a bit funny because it's online, but it's printable. But it's designed for families to learn permaculture together. So it's really heart, head and hands. It's a really embodied, and you learn the permaculture process and a whole lot of nature play activities called nature play, but really they're like you're creating gardens together and nature playgrounds as such. So that's a tool. Yeah.
So one of the permaculture principles from Bill Mollison, one of the co-originators, is everything gardens. This you can have as a metaphor for life. But essentially, if we can have outdoor classrooms like what's happening here, but also like the work of Aaron Sorensen, who's down in the Wollongong area, often hosting children who have come from migrant backgrounds and refugees, often with hardly any English language, but what they do know about is gardening. And so having that translation, and Aaron's often sending me photographs of just the deep transformation that's happening with kids and the happiness and the connection that's happening with kids coming from different cultures from around the world and finding that place. But if I reflect back at my upbringing in Sydney, I remember hearing about schools that had gardens, and I remember hearing about agricultural schools that had animals as well too. And there's something about bringing in the systems of life into the schooling so much more. And then bringing it back to everything gardens, well, we can teach maths and English and science and all of the school curricula in a practical way. And there's not too much adjustment that really needs to be made for that, especially for us kind of practical hands-on doers, and within a moment we can adjust curriculum to be here rather than here. So bringing it back to the garden, and it's the slow movement like the Stephanie Alexander programs and the garden to table programs that are happening, but just really emphasising the importance and supporting our schools and our PNCs and supporting the principals and the deputies and all that kind of creates the school ecology is for bringing kids back into the gardens, and also adults and elders, and have good design for the accessibility of the people who's being involved in those gardens. And towards later in life, we look back, the elders can be sharing conversations and learnings and support, and those conversations in the garden can be happening quite naturally without it being therapy.
And it takes volunteers. I've worked in a bunch of schools now where the school had an interest, the school approach to do school gardens, and it was actually the parents that were driving it. It was actually the parents that wanted to see gardens in the schools, and it was the parents that showed up. In the film, just over at Masons Beach, it was a passionate parent that got it going and got it off the ground, and I volunteered, like as the consultant installer, I volunteered my time, at a heavily discounted rate, basically doing things on weekends and getting materials and thinking of, you know, how to engage these kids even more. And it was an interesting demographic as I learnt more about Cairns, where students, you know, often would just not want to be in class, and you know, the teachers were like, you could almost see the veins in their necks at times, you know, and yet when they were outside, soon as there was something engaging, you know, the kids, they just flocked together, and it was great. It was great to see how many parents get involved in that. Yeah.
Great sharings. And yeah, I think we're going to wrap it up pretty short. We've got a band playing next, The Variants. If you haven't checked them out, definitely stick around. Awesome local band that play here every Tuesday. And I'd just like to add one more on that topic of the youth, because I do feel like since making this documentary, it's been the easiest message that's come through to me, is that the most important aspect is the next generation. And right now we're kind of battling, so to speak, against a mind virus of pop culture, and it's driving itself into the ground. So the more that we can evade that space, you know, you see people doing it, you see, you know, greenery and the fruits and vegetables coming up in the music scene, making it cool. You know, these words are easy to evolve, and it's up to us as leaders of the community, the elders and the fathers and mothers, to create that inspiration in our children and step away from what we're, you know, constantly feeding into, which is a perpetual cycle, and it's a system that we know has flaws, that we know we can fix. There are solutions there, but it just takes that individual to take a step out of their comfort zone and do something that they might be judged or ridiculed for, but they're doing it for the good intention, you know, setting that example, leading the way for your kids, and then they're going to do the same for their kids, because they can feel how good it is and how awesome the vibration is when you get outside and you start doing things for the earth. And not only that, but it takes the culture to come together to realize the suffering that they're in, highlighting people's suffering and allowing space for them to move past it. And I think you all have the capability to raise your vibration to a level that exceeds anyone's beliefs. And that's what we have. We're superpowers. We've got the power to evolve rapidly. If you look at generations before us, think about the evolution and the advancement that's happened since, you know, the last 30, 50 years. And imagine what these new kids are bringing through. My daughter, my son, they're so onto it. But I have to be onto it, because it's what they are seeing and it's what they're igniting in their souls. So the more that you can channel that, like, we're just going to go, pew! So thank you very much for everyone participating and coming down today.
Thanks, guys. Thank you, Tom, for sharing. And let's give it up for these guys one more time again. Annalise Horden, Jay Jackson, Blake Hudson, Tennille Christensen. And did you guys like it? Was it good? Okay, yeah? Okay, let's give it up for you guys one more time. Yay! We're really excited. We got just this quick announcement. We are going down to Coolum on the 17th of August. If you've got any friends down there, let them know. We're doing a screening and an event. We realise, you know, the movie is one thing, but bringing people together and sharing stories and sharing inspirational messages and inspiring people to take action in the world is what it's all about, and ultimately connecting. So we've got a great event happening in Coolum. And then in September, we're going to Noosa, and we're teaming up with the Noosa Permaculture, and we're doing a screening at the only and the oldest theatre in all of Australia. It's going to be really exciting. It's the Majestic Theatre, Noosa Permaculture. And then we're going to work on this one together in this moment, but doing a screening in Sydney. Woohoo! Interstate. So beautiful community down there that we're going to showcase the film, and it's online for many people to see. But I just want to thank you all again for your time, and thank you for being here, and thank you for your contributions in supporting this artistic, creative, beautiful message. And I love you guys. Have a great night.
Don't go into the system, it's step out of the system and create a new system.
Us as people caring for the land, doing this together for our future. And then this becomes this.
We are not the victims, we are the co-creators.
All of these man-made constructs of status and money and power and worrying about what everybody thinks about you all of the time, it's all man-made bullshit. You get somebody into the garden and show them how simple life can be. Build yourself a little shack, put a seed in the ground, water it. A week later, come back and harvest it and eat it. We've overcomplicated things.
Keep up with the habits, keep up with the awareness, and keep up with the learning, because the tide will turn.
An enlightened planet would be tantamount to living a heaven on earth experience, a honeymoon experience as people fall in love. And when they fall in love, how much they appreciate everything in their world around them.
I said, let's evolve, but let's evolve healthily and happily and harmoniously.
Oh, happy, healthy, harmoniously.
And that's what open love is all about, living in harmony.
Some of the ancient tribes have mentioned of the rainbow people coming together with the cultural people in these times to share their love for Earth and regenerate Earth, when they were calling the young people the Regeneration.
The future holds a lot of potential for millennials, because the future is we have to return to be gardeners, and all the new technologies that will manifest to how can we clean up the air, the water, the land, take care of the people. It's just waiting for a population of young people to come in and say, I'm motivated to make a better world, and then you're in the right place.